Toriko is honestly one of those things that could have gone either way for me, but as it progresses, I'm enjoying more and more of the character development and just the world itself. Very, very cool. Gourmet number 33, Sunny's Dining Kitchen. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Food Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here in the new year to not only wish you a happy new year, but you came here to see a review on the awesome, the hunger-inducing tale of Toriko. Now, our last chapter, of course, saw us with the rock drums attacking, and, our group, Toriko doing pretty well on his own, but really kind of calling in for Sunny, to give him some backup. Most of the chapter, Sunny just kind of was like, no, that's beneath me. They're not beautiful enough for me to fight. And really didn't step in until the last moment. And it seemed like it was after Toriko convinced Sunny of the beauty that these things do have, because their shells actually can make some of the finest, purest marble in all the world. So then Sunny at the end of the chapter wound up tossing one of the rock drums, the one that was all cracked up on the super happy battle fragrance juice that had been given accidentally by Rin, which was another comical moment. And that's how the chapter ended up. Now, this chapter goes and picks up right there, and it's actually really cool. It's entitled Sunny's Kitchen, and I really like this because Sunny's been introduced for several chapters now, but we didn't really know the extent of his powers. He's just sort of got this long, multicolored, flowing hair, and really didn't know some of the different things. I was thinking that it was maybe like a telekinesis, kind of like the Force type of power. And it turns out, we find out very, very quickly that it is not. It is actually, it starts out in there's a rock drum approaching him, and he goes and winds up, grabbing a piece of its shell and fires this thing at him to knock him backwards. And then you get Toriko is telling Komatsu, run, get out of the way. You don't want to get caught in the fallout from all this stuff. And then we go and we see and we find out Toriko gives an explanation about Sunny and what his deal is. And somebody actually had kind of, I don't know he did it accidentally, but had spoiled this in the comments for me, that he doesn't use like a telekinesis. It's actually these tiny little microscopic feelers that are strands of hair. Now, it's cool because when you see the description of this, or you hear it and then you see it, he has these a couple 100,000 of these tiny, I guess you could describe them as thin hair-like fibers, but these things are like 1/1000th of an inch thick. They're like 0.1 microns. They cannot be seen by the human eye. They're like 1/15th the size and the thickness of a spider's web, right? And so Komatsu's like, okay, well, spider webs though are, whatever, they can break very easily, right? And Toriko's like, no, I mean, for their, for spiders and for their size and everything like that, they actually do have good tensile strength and all that. But Sunny's on a whole different level. Each one of his little feeler hair deals can support up to 250 kilograms, about 550 pounds, right? And I'm like, wow, that's insane. And Toriko's like, I couldn't even break one of his strands or whatever. So Sunny's the real deal with his shit, when he goes and so if you get within range of those feeler things, man. So then they go and they kind of go back to the action, and we see this rock drum, kind of go and go to come at Sunny, and he goes, and actually what it is the one that he knocked on his ass. The other one goes and gets up, and he's like, oh, there was two, and that was the one that was thrown earlier, I think. He gets back, and he goes and he pulls off a piece of his actual shell, and he's trying to keep his distance now because he saw what happened to his other buddy. So he goes and goes to whip this thing at Sunny, and hit him. And it's cool because Sunny all of a sudden goes, hairnet, right? And you actually see, and they show it going, this hairnet kind of like nets and balls up the rock or whatever. And then you know how Toriko's got the fork and the knife and everything. We got the frying pan from Manson. He's got the spatula, and I guess that's his counterattack move that he tells that to Toriko tells that to Komatsu a second later. But you just see the spatula and just whap. The rock just goes and goes back and explodes into the rock the rock drum. I keep calling them rock trolls, but winds up going and taking him aback and taking him down. And it's really great how the whole setup is and everything, because it kind of just goes back and forth between like the battle and then Toriko and his description of the battle and what's going on and what's happening, his play-by-play to Komatsu. So Komatsu is just still like we just completely like, oh wow, and he goes, so Toriko goes and he says, yeah, that's his counterattack, that's the spatula or whatever. Nobody can, nothing can when it gets within his range can harm him because he can just deflect it, right? So we get that kind of cool build-up and everything. Then the next part of it, as if like the trifecta of coolness wasn't, you know, as if two things wasn't cool enough, we had to go for the trifecta. The third thing that was actually shown, I guess, explained, introduced, what have you. It goes and it talks about all of his different feelers, and this is where it comes into the whole Sonny's kitchen type deal. Those microscopic hairs, right, actually have like sensory what do you call those I can't even think of it right now. Basically sensors on them, all up and down them, right? And they're more sensitive than even like the human hand or whatever. They can experience like heat, cold, sight, sound, and most of all taste. So once you go and you get within, Toriko asks him, he says, "What's your range these days, Sonny?" And Sonny says, "About 25 meters." And I'm thinking, what the hell is he talking about? What, for his attacks, you know? And no, it's this Sonny's kitchen thing. If you get within 25 meters of him, right, his feelers can go and can nail your ass, can go in, and he winds up showing with the rock drum. He goes and gets in with them, and he goes and he immobilizes him, right, in the Sonny's kitchen. He winds up immobilizing him. It looks almost like there's like a shock to his system or whatever. So I don't know if the feelers are able to like shock and find like sensory organs or whatnot. But he's basically immobilized while Sonny goes and kind of feels him up and prepares him to be eaten, you know, for what kind of food or ingredient it is. So then it goes and it flashes back and it explains that's why Toriko was kind of like freaked out when he got, you know, when we said Sonny touched him and everything like that. Because Sonny touching him like that, they said, and they show this picture of it here. They show this picture of it, which I thought was great. Yeah. The equivalent, they said, it's the equivalent of getting felt up and then licked, you know. So they show Sonny just kind of like licking him. So could you imagine that? Somebody just kind of like, "Hey, baby," feeling you up and then like licking you. So that's kind of the feeling, I guess, that you get when Sonny's sensors go and touch you. You know what I mean? Once you're within that range of him, the one that Terry obviously stayed out of, which was pretty neat. So. But, you know, then we go and we also see kind of a flashback and explains that, you know, what's with the strength part of it. That's how he was able to carry this mammoth, because each one of these things is so strong on its own, even though some of it defies the laws of logic, because obviously he still has to support the weight. But what it is explaining is that each one of these little invisible feelers was actually helping thousands of them, hundreds of thousands, holding up this Regal Mammoth. So it appeared that he was holding with one hand, but it was actually all these thousands of little feelers that were carrying the weight of it, you know. So definitely very cool stuff. And like I said, just the explanations are great. So he goes and he wraps this sumbitch up, you know, and goes, because it gets into his, gets into his kitchen over there. So, geez, sounds like I ripped it, but I didn't. And, you know, and he winds up immobilizes it, freezes it, and this is where Toriko goes and gives the good explanation, the vivid explanation about everything that happens. And I really like it because he kind of just goes and prepares that thing, and then he's just like, "All right, boom, okay, we're done now." Here he goes. The dining kitchen is the area inside Sonny's sensor range. Inside it, he can prepare and taste any prey at his leisure, which I liked, you know. So then he goes and he winds up saying, "Hey, listen, preparation complete," and he's done with them now. So he's like, so it's called hair knocking. Harmonizing with life, and both life and death, and that was a lovely union. I love that thing. So the other thing that was pretty cool, and it was introduced right at the beginning, was when they're talking about Sonny's kitchen, the introduction of it, is he was talking about how the harmony, things how they can harmonize in life. And a lot of this goes with food and presentation, because my wife is we can both cook, but my wife can cook and does the presentation very well. And the food, to me, always just seems to taste better. And Sonny goes and explains, he's like, just a plate of noodles, every run of the mill type of noodles is just noodles. But when you go and you prepare them on the plate right and stack them up properly and everything, that they taste better. A picture drawn by a no-name artist, right? Framed in an exquisite frame, all of a sudden becomes this work of art. It's the harmony of things, and that's what I like about Sonny, is that they describe, and the way he describes things, it's about the beauty and the harmonizing of things. And he goes, the noodles, they actually taste better. The picture actually draws you and makes you look closer at it, and you think, because it's not just the perception and the reality of it, it's the actual way it sets you up mentally for it, in my opinion anyway, and just the harmonizing between things, how you can go and you can create something that's much more beautiful just by going and pairing it with the right things, or being able to kind of dress it up right. So it's a very cool concept, and I really like how it was introduced. That was at the beginning of the chapter. Anyway, back to the reality over here. So he finishes up with wrapping up and doing his hair knocking thing, which we can assume is what he did to those gang hoods now that tried to approach him. And then we get the last page of the chapter, and I was a little confused by this because I'm not quite sure. I'll obviously read the next one right after I'm done with this, and I'll be able to tell you in that review. But we see Terry, who kind of goes and turns, he's like, like, "Rrr," and I'm thinking that he's like flipping out because of, and at first I was thinking he was flipping out because he was close to Sunny's sensors and his range, but then they go and they show a cliff and one of the GT robots, one of the 4 of them that we know that are there, that has come up out of the water. So I don't know if that's near them and Terry just sensed it, or if Terry was kind of freaking out to Sunny and his whole deal. But ultimately, though, it was a very cool chapter. And like I said, there was a really neat thing. I call it the trifecta because there was 3 really cool things that were described in depth about Sunny and how the hairs work, what he can do, the strength of it, how he carried the mammoth, how the feelers work, you know, and really, really neat. So I definitely enjoyed it. My chapter question, though, is what do you think about Sunny's powers now that we know about them? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts on those microscopic little hairs, those feelers, and how it can all be used and how anything that gets within range? I mean, Toriko is even like, hey, dude, anything gets within 25 meters of him in that Sunny's kitchen, you're fucked, you know? So very, very cool stuff. Leave your answer to that question in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it. And subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next Fun Nation. Well, after all, it is much more beautiful if it's in perfect harmony.